So for November 2024, your perpetrator community works in secret and darkness. But I'm going to show you a healthy oak tree. And you can kind of see where there's moss. In the state of California, moss grows to protect the branches, but absorb the carbon monoxide. And if you look, it creates, it absorbs the pollutants, to include probably directed energy. This is as small as my place is, a granny unit. And then you see the extent of it only growing on the inner side over the roof. See all that moss? And then you go over to the big tree. This tree's, I don't know how many, over 100 years old. And you see, but it's only in the line of sight of where a directed energy weapon is. Most all the oak trees are like that, where you don't have any moss growing off of it, neighbors' houses down the street. But my place, and so what it is that the environment is going to try to protect itself from, see how much the extent is right there. So I think right here in the lower area here, you've got a house here. This is second run over here. And they probably have the biometric base station that feeds the BCI information over. So whenever there's any type of pollutants, to include directed energy, the nature will attempt to protect itself from the heavy electromagnetic energy that happens. Now on the outskirts, you would think the street, because there's more pollution in the streets, but if you see where the streets and the CO2s are from this part of this tree, it would have moss, and it doesn't. It's only on the inner layers up here. And this is what happened when I was living in Los Angeles. There were line of sight trees, palm trees, that all started dying off. And they probably didn't have enough, like this one where it's 100 plus years old. And you could just see the extent of, but then if you go out into the street area over this side of the tree, and it protects it all the way into and on both sides. You see all of that? Now you look at the other trees here, they barely have any, like over there. And then across the street, you don't see any on that oak tree. You do have a target. He's a one-legged man that they've been doing manipulations on. His name is Lars. He has one leg. And he has one leg. They had him basically BCI'd or mind controlled to do a 2-story add-on. And then you see on the street, you don't see the moss. You see? You only see it, well, they're on the tree over here. So they had him do that 2-story add-on right there. And that's the Steinbeck writing studio where John Steinbeck used to write. And then some on the street over here. But all of it, the concentration of energy comes in through here. You see all the concentrate, you see all the moss? That's a lot. You see? And then where you have a lower level, you have a concentration of the house right here and a garage right here. And so if you're doing brain-computer interface, what you need is a biometric base station that you're feeding information out into a dedicated area. That biometric or EEG goes into a dedicated server somewhere that an end user can log into. Now why would a concentration be there on the inner portion and you get sun? And then all of a sudden you have a weird one on this little tree that doesn't do anything. And then you have it on the upper ones of this huge cypress tree. You'll see some of it, but it's not nowhere near me. And the extent of, and it just goes over, and by the way, from here, my living area, so from the meter to this side over here, all of this, here, let me just pan out. is where my living area is. So the extent of the pollutants that the oak tree is attempting to protect its own leaves is in the line of sight of my living space. See? But if you go to the street where the cars go by, you don't see it. And usually they say that it's in California, the moss that grows it's usually dedicated to protecting the leaves and the environment, because the moss is a carbon eater, and then it helps the oxygen. So you could tell that the leaves are protecting itself because it needs more oxygen, because the directed energies that the military is using here, and that my neighbors know about and facilitate and help to field for them, is causing the leaves to need extra protection. And me.